So we're going to talk about experience design. And before we dive into experience design and all the challenges in creating a great experience design, let's level set on what I believe, and I hope you can share the definition of what is great experience design. Because, frankly, there's a lot to it. Now, Virgin is actually an example of good experience design in an industry that is pretty well known for terrible experience design, flying, right? Never any good times. But Virgin has done a few things that I think are quite noteworthy and are exemplary of what is thoughtful experience design. Basically, they get that it's not just one moment. When you're doing a product or a service, it's very easy to consider the moment of consumption as the moment to get right. And it is. But as is the moment before, during, and after. And that's what Virgin understands. So from the very beginning, their advertising is putting out a message. It's delivering a promise. It's saying, we are edgy, refined, simplified. We're different than your average airline. And that message continues through to the digital platform when you're booking online. This isn't your average booking site. It looks completely different. It looks edgy, refined, and simplified, and very easy to use. The physical manifestation of it as well continues to carry that story forward and continues to fulfill that promise that they originally set through their advertising. Every little detail is coherent and orchestrated to come together into a larger whole, building on that story that it was originally started. The chairs, the fabric, the carpet are all adding to that same message about what this is all about, and they're delivering on that promise. I love this as an example, something that's usually considered as an afterthought at most airlines. Look at the terminology that they use. Drop $2 in the box, rock all flight long. That's a very special way of communicating to somebody that here are a pair of headphones for you. But they're doing that in a way to continue that overall feeling that they're trying to convey, the idea of being edgy, refined, and simplified. They're doing that so well that by the time you get on the flight, it's actually this crescendo of the whole experience, because they've been building up this story that this is different. This is going to be an elevated experience. And so the lights, the smells, the sound are all communicating that one idea, and it's actually compounding your experience over time. The seats, they're just as uncomfortable and small as most planes, but you still feel this very different experience in sitting in them because of all of those details around it. The details of the interface, again, communicating in that orchestrated way. Even the safety video, very much edgy and refined. And of course, the smiles on the flight attendants' faces. Physical, digital, human, verbal, all of these details need to come together into an orchestrated whole to truly deliver the ideal user experience. Yes, of course, you need to get the experiences, the individual moments right, and they need to be useful, usable, and desirable. But it's really when all of those moments come together that it's going to be of its highest value. So each moment, when you first learn about the product, when you buy the product, when you eventually use the product, you get assistance, but maybe you need some help, all the way down to sharing it with friends. When these moments come together, when they actually build value on top of each other, it becomes this union of compounded value that's far more impactful than any one moment on its own. That's user experience. That's what Virgin does a pretty good job of delivering, where most airlines are falling short. Another example of this, if you're familiar with Disney, very big in the United States, of course, they own everything. TV, sporting events, physical parks, of course, lots of product. And the physical parks is really where you can feel this idea of experience design. They, of course, take you to another world when you visit it. Every little detail, again, is communicating this idea that you're someplace else, some fictionary, imaginary world where you're now a star in a new story. So when you're walking down Main Street or when you're on a ride, you're very much in another world. Everything all the way down to the food is communicating this very special experience. This is really nailing the details. Even trash cans that spit out bubbles, right? The littlest detail is communicating this is special, this is magic, this is another world. But what all of that amounts to at the end is an emotional feeling of a time spent someplace else, somewhat much transformative. But where they've really upped their game is in the last couple of years, this idea of the Magic Band, if you're familiar. It's an RFID band that you can hook up. You can make a profile and define what you like and who you are and attach your payment to it. And then when you go to the park, it turns that coherent journey that they have so well orchestrated into one personalized to you. So this is really the cat's pajamas of experience design, because it's not just about a coherent story, one story that fits all. Instead, it's a coherent story personalized to each individual. And so when you come into the park, they know it's you, they know if you've been there before, they know what characters you like, and they can help you have a better experience because of that. So you can tap into a ride. When you're at the restaurant, you sit down to eat, they can bring you the food because they already know what you ordered and know where you're sitting. When you're walking about the park, they can know it's your birthday and have a character wish you happy birthday. All of those moments, again, come down to a coherent journey that's personalized to you, which is very, very special. But of course, Disney has an advantage that most companies do not. They truly own all of those moments. You are in an isolated bubble when you're inside Disney. They control just about everything. And so for them to deliver a coherent story where each moment lines up makes pretty good sense. But for most companies, there are owners that are not your employees of those experiences. Most time, you're dealing with a partner, or perhaps even the users' friends and family are helping to deliver the experience. And for companies like Airbnb, sharing economy companies, or gig economy companies, the person delivering the end user experience is not an employee. That more often than not, it's an average Joe, Jose, or Jiro. They are regular people that are helping to provide a service for those end customers. And what that means is that there is a whole lot less control. Now, there's something really awesome about that. I mean, that's one of the reasons why gig economies and sharing economy companies are doing so well and have great scale, and that they're actually great experiences for the people that use them, is because every time it's different. There's unique places all around the world. You come and you meet a new host and you get a new story. You hear all sorts of things that you never would have known. It is definitely not cookie cutter, and that's what's awesome about it. You come home and you're like, I stayed in this wonderful penthouse that had the most amazing view, or my host that I'm staying with right now, she makes stained glass. I'm so fascinated to hear about her stories and how the hell do you do that? And these different stories happen because of the uniqueness, the diversity, the variety on the platform. It really is the most enhanced value add to the whole idea. And of course, it's what provides scale. The other companies like this, if you're familiar with Lyft, it's ride sharing. They're based in San Francisco. I use it pretty much exclusively when I'm getting a ride. And they, too, have regular people driving regular cars that give you a ride. And every single time I come away with a unique story. This one, it was on a Tuesday night. I'm coming home from work, and halfway into the ride, he turns on strobe lights and techno music. I mean, what a better way of getting home from work than a regular car ride? And that story, and many others that I've had just by riding in Lyft, is because the unique individuals that are involved. But so this uniqueness, while very, very special and makes it all the more valuable and more authentic and unique, is also ripe for disaster, right? You don't have direct control over the end user's experience like Disney does. You are trusting in people all around the world to deliver a great user experience. And when things are coming misaligned, that results in a essentially jangled, discombobulated user experience. It doesn't feel as good when something goes wrong. This is something that we have to think about all the time at Airbnb. As he mentioned, I'm a director of user experience, and so me and my team are constantly thinking about how can we help to improve this. Our work generally lands in pixels. So we're working on the app and the website. But these pixels are all in service of an offline experience between real people. And so our job is to try to create the system and the foundation to enable an experience that will be high quality every time, despite that every time it's different. It's not easy. We certainly haven't figured it out completely. But what I'd love to share with you are tips on how do you bring order to that chaos. Because while you might not be in a sharing economy company, Guaranteed, whatever company you do work for, the end user experience is not all your own. You are working within an ecosystem that's helping to deliver that end-to-end user experience. And it's best to think about all the different ways that you can provide some guardrails, provide some support, and facilitate something to improve that user experience that the ecosystem is delivering. So I'll give you 5 tips on how to do that. So the first, and maybe the most important, is to zoom out. Have a perspective on what you're actually trying to deliver. Again, the user experience is not one moment. It's multiple moments that come together before, during, and after. A good example of this is the symphony. That's what a complicated user experience is. There's lots of players pulling it together and trying to deliver something really magical. If you don't want to just be the lone violinist delivering one simple solo, but instead deliver a symphony in concert, you really need to consider how to bring a large group of people within your company and your ecosystem together. The way we do that at Airbnb is through a storyboard. A storyboard is our sheet music, essentially, for delivering that end user experience. A storyboard puts in perspective all of the moments of the journey in a visual form. And so it's just the archetypal moments. It's not every little nuance, but it's important that you truly visualize what are the things that can happen during somebody's journey. What are the things that they're doing and encountering and using and holding and seeing. We also look at the host side of things. And this helps us understand, where are we doing a good job? Where are we actually putting forth a product that's going to help people? And where are we not? Where are we dropping the ball? And of course, in the host and guest scenario, where are they helping each other versus where are we owning that moment? And looking at these two things together gives us a great perspective on where we need to put more effort. And so first and foremost, make it visual. Just a diagram, boxes and arrows are not going to communicate the feelings and the emotions and the challenges of the context of your user. Making it visual like a comic strip does. But don't just make it visual, make it visible. For us, putting it on the wall where everybody can see it is imperative. Because again, just like the symphony, it's not just one person playing that tune, it's a whole group of folks. It's your entire company. Finance, HR, marketing, product, they're all involved in delivering that end user experience either directly or indirectly, as is your outside ecosystem. So putting it up where the world can see it is important. Now, when you have that journey, you have an opportunity to look ahead. You get to know, where can the shit hit the fan and how do we solve for it prior? And that's because the people that experience your product and your service are doing so over time, and they have a memory. So utilize that fact and start solving problems before they happen. And so by looking at the journey, we can think about, where do the problems exist? And so this is a moment where we are ripe for bad experiences. It's the moment you arrive at a listing and you have this expectation of what you're going to see. And you come to the door and you're all ready and you knock on it and you're thinking, I'm going to have Wi-Fi, I'm going to have a king bed, and it's going to be great and it's going to be in the best neighborhood ever. And then if any one of those things go wrong, then your experience is already taken a notch down. And the overall experience is going to be that much less valuable. So your happiness is impacted by what you experience. And what we've realized is, while we can't go to every single listing around the world and make sure that they have Wi-Fi and a king bed, but what we can absolutely do is help to set expectations about what that place does have, so that when you get there, your reality is in line with your expectations, and therefore your happiness is at its best. Because if your expectations are higher than the actual reality, it doesn't end well. And so we want to make sure that you know if there's going to be Wi-Fi or what size beds. And how we do that is by thinking about that journey and getting ahead of it. So getting ahead of it means putting together a listing page that communicates everything we possibly can about that place through large imagery and video and reviews and details about that space. So when you get there, it is exactly what you were expecting. Now, obviously, all of this is a work in progress, but these are the tools with the technology of mobile apps and websites that we can do to help our hosts do that. And we're constantly looking at ways to better automate the knowledge process of learning about that listing. Lyft, again, the car sharing or ride sharing, also does something like this, which I think is pretty clever. So their big thing is making sure you have a comfortable ride. Now, they're relying on a regular person to help do that, right? So how they help this is by asking you when you sign up what kind of music you like. So that way when you get in the car, your driver knows what kind of music you like. They could choose to put it on. They're not forcing it. But if they do, that might help to provide a better experience for you riding in the car. I think this is a pretty clever way of, again, using the technology to help facilitate an offline person-to-person interaction. Now, the digital platform is key here. None of this would work without that. That's really what facilitates that continuous experience, helps us get ahead of problems, helps communicate between two different people around the world, and provide some sort of guardrails around it. That platform really does is the stage of the play that will occur. And so using your platform as guardrails is important. This is an example of not doing that. This is MySpace. If you guys remember, before Facebook, there was MySpace, social platform. So MySpace was all the rage for a little while, and it was pretty fun. You could design your own profile page any way you want. You could use every single color in the rainbow, and you could just go buck wild with this thing. Well, that was fun for a little while, but guess what? Turns out this is really not easy to read. This is not really easy to understand the content actually there. And in a social platform, the content is the king. Usually the content is the king, but definitely here. And when you can't read it, there's no point to it. And it doesn't work as well. And so what they're doing here, they're failing to do, is to provide the guardrails to allow that content to sit and actually communicate well. Facebook did a great job. Facebook, it's actually a very clean, very standard, very basic interface, but that means the content now takes center stage. The pictures, the stories you tell, that's what's attracting the attention, not the distracting background in every rainbow color possible. And so this is why they were able to be so much more successful. I want to give some examples of some sharing economy companies and how they've also used this theme. Some of them you may know of. Oops. Oh, I think that's because of our slide issue. So that was an animation. What you would see underneath those white boxes, these are 4 different sharing economy companies. The first one, Paw Shake, is actually so you can get a dog babysitter. And this company has a platform very similar to Airbnb where you can connect with a dog babysitter. And the platform, just like Etsy, which is a marketplace, TaskRabbit, a marketplace for services, and then Drivey, a marketplace for car rides, they all have basically a container that helps that content sit in it without distracting too much, without getting in the way, but providing enough guardrails and continuity to bring a little bit of calm to the overall experience and provide more continuous communication. So the next tip, when you're thinking about that and thinking about the guardrails that you're setting up to help to bring some calm and to the chaos of the user experience, is making sure not to overstep. Don't get in the way of the community that's helping to provide your experience. Because what you might do then is A, set wrong expectations, or B, take away some of the greatest value of the experience that's being provided by your more diverse community. So keep it real. Don't lie to the fact that it's unique. Remember that driver that I talked about that played the music? Imagine he was wearing a uniform. That would have given me a totally different expectation of the experience. I would have probably thought he was overstepping by playing music. But because he wasn't wearing a uniform, he was wearing his own street clothes, I had a better understanding of the expectation, that this is a unique individual and this is going to be a unique experience. Again, the white boxes, awesome. So these are a few more examples, and what I would have shown you here in these examples is that you'll see that in all of these platforms, they're showing pictures of the people and the places and the real things that are involved. They're talking about reviews. They describe the people. They have profiles that can say, I make stained glass, or I love dogs and I've been walking dogs for 30 years. All of these things help to keep it real and help you as the end user better understand what you're getting. And they start to help you build expectations and build trust between the other people that you might encounter on the platform. This is definitely a huge element of the success of any one of these platforms. What we do at Airbnb in the same vein is we try to encourage messaging between the guest and the host before they meet. We know if they message each other beforehand that they're both going to have a better experience than if they don't. Because this is an opportunity for them to get to know each other a little bit, better understand, set expectations, and perhaps uncover some of the similarities that they might have, like somebody that's going to be able to show you around town or get to know the place a little bit better. And that's the biggest part of it. is knowing that the community is the key and opening up to that community and helping your community be a part of the experience, knowing and valuing the fact that they are the ones that are helping to deliver it, means that you're going to put a little bit more attention to it. So often, marketplace companies aren't thinking about the other side of the coin. We at Airbnb have to remind ourselves of that all the time, that it's not just about the guests and it's not just about the host, but it's about both. And our hosts are certainly the ones that are really delivering that experience. And so we have to consider it as the fact that they're partners. And you should be considering in your own product company as well that your ecosystem that's helping to provide the experience are partners. And how can you help them be more successful? It's kind of the same way you might think about your own team at your company, is that how do you help each other be successful? It's through encouragement and information. And you're trying to drive people to be that successful on their own. And so one of the ways we've been trying to do this over the last couple of years at Airbnb is we have a host event. This was last year in Paris, and we had 5,000 hosts come to Paris where we did a couple of days of workshops and presentations, and we talked to them face to face. And it was like a fire hose to the face of feedback to us on the design team on how we can do things better. And that's exactly what we need. We need to know how to make things better for them. If our product is better for them, it'll be better for the end users as well. Another way that we've been working on that is a dashboard called the host dashboard. And so this communicates to a host how they're doing. Are they getting top marks for cleanliness? Are they getting top marks for having an accurate listing? Remember to set expectations. And this information for them helps them make better decisions. We could just set their price for them, but that wouldn't be a learning opportunity for them, and it certainly wouldn't be an open platform. And so instead, we provide them the information about what pricing is working in their neighborhood and help them better understand demand at that time of year so that they can make the right choice and be a better business person. This is just a more example of that. Another example outside of Airbnb is Eventbrite. So they do event invitations. And they have, of course, the person that's going to the party as a customer, but their other customer, the other side of the marketplace, are the people that actually put on events. So similarly, the way we think about hosts, they're thinking about the event coordinators. And so they provide a dashboard for those coordinators, telling them how they can better think about what's working and what's not working, are there attendees opening the emails, et cetera. And what's really special about this page here is that this message, we want your feedback. It is an open, two-way conversation between them and their partners so that they can, again, make the tools better for them so that they can make the tools better for their end user experience. And a lot of these examples, that are about a marketplace are talking about the difficulty in bringing a coherent user experience together. But the important point is that while, yes, it is an extreme case when we're talking about a community-based service like Airbnb, every single company has this issue. We don't own all the moments of the user experience, but we can't neglect them just because we don't own them. Instead, we must think about the ways that we can influence the people that are participating in delivering that experience to make sure that every time, although it's different, every time it's high quality and it's unified, despite the differences. So the ways you think about that is thinking about zooming out and understanding the end goal. Try to understand how you can step ahead of problems before they start by utilizing that journey. And know that your platform, your digital platform, or whatever platform you may be providing, the thing you own the most control of is the stage that is all going to play on. Make sure the stage is set to provide for that best experience and provides the guardrails to do so. Whoops. And then keep it real. Don't overstep. Don't overshadow the fact that you don't own it all, because you'll just screw up expectations and potentially risk bringing some of that authenticity to it. And then, of course, lastly, make sure that you're participating in the community and making sure that your community feels supported so that they can do a great job delivering that end user experience. And I truly believe by doing these types of things, we can get a little closer to a company like Disney or Virgin that owns more of the experience and still make it a really great one for everyone every time. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I think we have time for just one question. Who is desperately dying to ask the question? Okay, you got to run up here, though. Run for it. She's really running, everybody. said run. I said run. All right, go for it. Quick, here. Just here's fun.
Hi. Firstly, really enjoyed it. I think it was packed with really great nuggets of content, so thank you for that. Real life experience. As I'm here, my flat is being rented on Air Sorted in London. I'm using a third-party agency to manage all this stuff. Something went massively wrong. They are messaging the guest on my behalf. And I'm just wondering what's Airbnb's stance on third-party agencies like that. Should we be using them as hosts? And perhaps is that something that you would consider doing yourselves for those hosts who are busy and have no opportunity to welcome guests, etc.? Thank you.
That is a great question. I think that gets to the heart of the idea that there is a large ecosystem at play in delivering the experience. So a third-party provider that's helping to deliver that experience beyond the host is definitely something we think about and we acknowledge, and I think sometimes it actually helps to provide a better experience. If the hosts themselves can't be there, we're glad that somebody is. But absolutely, what we strive to do is provide the tools to help you deliver a great user experience and perhaps not need a third party. However, third parties, we're happy that they're involved. One day, perhaps we might be offering more services there. We're constantly looking at new things. But seeing what's happening now with third parties is a great research experience for us. It lets us see where it's working and where it's not before we make a decision to go into that space ourselves.
Cool. Wow, that was a great question. I was also wondering the same thing. But anyway, a big round of applause for Katie.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.